Boba Fett versus Jango Fett versus the Mandalorian. Who's going to win between these three bounty hunters? Let's find out. What's up, guys? I'm Daniel. This is DanCo. Thank you so much for watching the channel. Make sure you go ahead and hit that like button, the subscribe button, and turn notifications. More videos like this one every week. It really does help us a lot in that YouTube algorithm. Also, go follow us on TikTok. Link in the description down below. And if you want to, sound off in the comments for any future videos that you would love to see. Now let's get into the fight. Now, being a bounty hunter in the Star Wars universe is no easy thing. It's a whole lot harder than Dog the Bounty Hunter made it seem on TV.
The only way this guy will get away from us is if he kills himself right now and jumps into a pool of sharks.
Although I would like to see how he would do in Star Wars. But you're dealing with aliens and Jedi, Sith Lords, droids, monsters, other bounty hunters. It's enough to make you lose your head. Luckily, these three are some of the best out there. They're pretty good at what they do. But being pretty good can only get you so far. Who's truly the best of the best? That's what I want to figure out. Now, when I say physicals, there are really three things I'm looking for here: strength, speed, and durability. And if you want to start out with strength, well, looking at Jango Fett, he's lacking a little bit here. I mean, not to say he's not strong. I think he's fully capable, completely capable. Look at this. Right here, he caught and held Obi-Wan Kenobi with just one hand. That's probably what? 200 pounds, something like that. Plus you factor in the momentum of the fall. And that's pretty impressive to do with just one hand. I couldn't do it. I would drop Obi-Wan Kenobi for sure. Problem is, it's just Boba and Mando are both stronger. Mando is able to rip apart droids with his bare hands. Which, I mean, I don't necessarily know how strong you gotta be in order to do that. But ripping apart metal cannot be easy. On top of that, he's just constantly overpowering other guys, taking out aliens, kicking them away, throwing them around, just, well, overpowering them. And then Boba, well, just look at some of the stuff that he's able to do. Kick apart metal doors, easily overpower big ol' aliens and break them apart with their arms, all to get some information on Luke Skywalker. He's able to lift up Han Solo frozen in carbonite up out of the ocean. He's overpowered and choked out a big alien behemoth with a metal chain. Then there was simply the fact that Boba managed to dig and crawl his way out of the Sarlacc pit. Okay, so there are basically two things to look at here. One, Boba had to dig his way out of all that sand while he was buried alive, which is terrifying. Seriously, one of my biggest fears. But Boba did it, and that's no easy thing. Sand weighs 100 pounds per cubic foot. So even if Boba was just buried in the sand just 6 feet, the depth of your average coffin, that's still 600 pounds of cubic sand. And that's just factoring in 1 foot stacked on top of the other. But here's the thing. The Sarlacc pit is way bigger than you'd imagine it to be. In fact, this Sarlacc that ate Boba is 100 meters tall under all that sand, which is taller than even the Statue of Liberty. So I'm not sure where exactly Boba had to dig his way out of with the Sarlacc pit, but you can guarantee it's more than just 6 feet. Second thing you gotta remember, on top of that, Boba Fett was not in great shape while all this was going on. He'd been stuck in the Sarlacc for a few days at this point, was low on oxygen, no food and water. He nearly died from all this. Yet he still dug his way out. That's just crazy. So I don't know if any one of them is explicitly stronger than the others. I think he'd probably put them around all the same tier. But if Boba Fett escaping the Sarlacc pit actually played out that way, then that is easily the most impressive thing here. So then what about speed? Well, all these guys have been able to dodge laser blasts before. We've seen that play out. They're usually doing it by flying around on their jetpacks. They've all been able to regularly outdraw and basically outduel other gunmen along the way too. Problem is, how in the world do you compare all of that? I mean, whenever one of these bounty hunters are in a gunfight, they're usually killing whoever's in the other end of the blaster. So it's not like Jango and Mando are fighting the same people, so it's not like you can base how fast they draw their guns on all of that. You know? Actually, you might not know. Hearing myself say that out loud, that doesn't really make any sense. My point is, it looks like they're probably equal in speed too. And besides, I don't think it really matters. Laser blasts themselves don't really matter when you're wearing Beskar armor. And both of these armors are made out of Beskar. And yeah, I said both. Just 2 sets of armor, not 3. Jango and Boba Fett share the same set of armor. It was just passed down from father to son when dad lost his head. Now, honestly, and this might just because I'm biased for some reason, or maybe it's just because we've seen it do more explicit stuff, but I have a feeling, I have a hunch that Mando's armor is better. I want to say that. I do want to say Mando's armor is better. It's blocked lightsaber strikes from Ahsoka. It took big, heavy punches from the Dark Troopers, and a whole lot of them, even bites and hits from a Rancor. Not to mention all the blaster bolts, and punches, and kicks, and all that the armor has taken. I want to say that Mando's armor is better. Problem is, it really makes no sense to say that. Because if both of these armors are made out of Beskar, made out of the same stuff, made out of the strongest stuff in the universe, then shouldn't they be equal in every way? Equally tough, equally strong? Everything that one can do, then theoretically the other should be able to do too? So yeah, it's kind of hard to say that one is tougher than the other if they're both equally tough. See the conundrum there? So physically, well, god dang, it looks like they're almost exactly the same. So we're going to look at other stuff to determine who wins this fight. Now, like we've already laid out, being a bounty hunter in Star Wars is not the easiest job to have, not the safest job out there. And so you can't go in there alone, swinging your 2 fists around. No, you gotta go in there guns a-blazing. Plus, like Mando always says,
weapons are part of my religion.
I'm a Christian, I got Jesus, Mando and Boba and Jango have their blasters. But what kind of blasters are they using? So Jango using his trusty Wester 34 blaster pistols, custom made for the most dangerous bounty hunter in the galaxy. Perfect for those brief but intense surprise attacks at a close range. He's even got these hollowed out grips for a faster draw. It's not to kill at Jedi Masters and stop big old charging monsters, but of course, not enough to stop Mace or Obi-Wan or anybody like that. He's also got the typical weapons that come along with being a Mandalorian bounty hunter. A wrist-mounted flamethrower, whipcords, blades hidden in his gauntlet, and his jetpack which can fire out missiles. I would say trusty jetpack, but the thing is it's not really trustworthy. In fact, it's a little unreliable. It can be messed up, it can be damaged, and this is actually what led to Jango's death. His jetpack malfunctioned, which did not allow him to establish any distance between him and Mace Windu, something that Jango was absolutely relying on in order to survive. So Boba Fett also uses blaster pistols like his father. He's pretty good with them too. But his main weapon, his go-to, is definitely the ESB blaster rifle. It's shorter and lighter than the E11 blaster rifle that we've seen that's standard for most all stormtroopers. And Boba's has a quicker rate of fire, but it comes with less accuracy and stopping power than the larger rifle. However, Boba Fett equipped his with an electronic scope to help out with that long-range accuracy and a modified stock in order to give it additional stability. He's also got his wrist gauntlets filled with his whipcord, a flamethrower, and a bunch of other nice little surprises, like a mini concussion rocket launcher, where Boba can fire out small little missiles from his wrist. But don't worry, these things still pack a punch. Or where he's got wrist lasers, which is basically the full force of a blaster rifle just on his wrist. And that's not all. Boba Fett also has little rocket darts hidden in his knee pads, where he can take out enemies that way too. He's got explosives and flash grenades and thermal detonators. Then there's his jetpack. It's a Z6 jetpack, the type common among all Mandalorians. It was built specifically for ease and maneuverability, and it comes equipped with a really powerful missile launcher. But again, maybe the jetpack isn't really the best idea, because that's how Boba ended up in the Sarlacc pit to begin with, all because Han hit the jetpack with a stick. And then there's the Mandalorian. And you want to talk about weapons? Oh man, you want to talk about weapons? This guy has weapons. Like Boba and like Jango, He's got his trusty IB-94 blaster pistol as his sidearm or his main weapon, depending on the situation, and it can pack a bit of a punch. But he's got that, then he's got his Ambin sniper rifle. Man, that thing really packs a punch. It can be used as a weapon on multiple fronts. Sometimes he'll just start swinging around like a club. Other times he'll use it to shock and electrocute enemies, even some massive, big ol' animals, and then just straight up disintegration. He keeps his special ammunition wrapped around his leg, and man, does this stuff work. It will disintegrate almost anything, leave nothing but smoke and ash. And then, like Boba and Jango, Mando has wrist gauntlets too, full of all sorts of special tricks and surprises. A flamethrower and a whipcord, which is basically just routine at this point. But the thing that sets Mando apart is the whistling birds. They're kind of the perfect way to take out groups of enemies, because it doesn't matter how you aim them, they'll still fly up and fly around and take out all the bad guys around you. Mando also has a jetpack, except unlike the other two, this one has not led to his death or led to him being eaten alive. Not yet, at least. And maybe that's because Mando's jetpack is made out of Beskar. Maybe it's just because we haven't given enough time yet. At some point during the way, every Mandalorian's jetpack betrays them. But as for now, Mando's jetpack can actually be seen as a little bit of an advantage, just because it's proven to be a little bit more trustworthy than the other two. And then there's also the Darksaber, a one-of-a-kind and super ancient black-bladed lightsaber that's made out of a higher quality Beskar than anything they've ever seen. It was forged 1,000 years ago by the Mandalorian Jedi Ter Vizsla. And so that's crazy. That's a huge weapon for the Mandalorian to have on his side. But here's the catch. He doesn't really quite know how to use it just yet. He's not yet mastered the Darksaber, and so he's not able to wield it at its maximum potential, mostly due to all the internal conflict going on inside of him. The bottom line, it basically leaves the saber to feel real heavy and difficult to control. But if all these guys have an amazing arsenal, who's got the best one? Well, I think it goes like this. From worst to best, Jango, Boba, Mando. Because if we're using Disney canon, which we are, Jango's been around for the shortest time. We've seen the least from him, and so he literally has the smallest and the worst arsenal. Boba is up next, and his arsenal and Mando's arsenal is really almost exactly the same. Both got blasters, explosives, wrist gauntlets can shoot out little missiles and stuff like that. The difference is you can put a bit more trust in Mando's jetpack and then the Darksaber. Not that Mando is incredibly skilled of using the sword just yet, but still, it's there, and that's an advantage. But you can't just have a lot of weapons, you gotta know how to use them, you gotta be skilled. But before we get to that, just a quick reminder, if you're enjoying this video and you haven't already, go hit that like button, the subscribe button down below. Help us out a ton in the YouTube algorithm, it truly, really does. And also, we have merch now. We've got this awesome coffee mug, a hoodie, a hat, corduroy hat, so subscribe to DanCo. And I love all of it, and I'm gonna wear all of it all the time in each of these videos. I'm okay with that. I'm gonna be that guy now who just wears his merch in every single video he's in. I'm okay with doing that. I'm okay with being that guy. This is my coffee mug from now on, my hat, my hoodie. That's it. This is all I'm gonna wear. All right, back to the video. And all of them are incredibly skilled. I mean, I feel like each one of them has been called the best bounty hunter out there at one point or another. So yeah, each of these guys has definitely earned quite the reputation. But let's start with Jango Fett. He's skilled enough to fight against Obi-Wan Kenobi, skilled enough to actually overwhelm Obi-Wan in a hand-to-hand fight and keep him away from his lightsaber. He tried to do the same thing to Mace Windu, although it didn't really work out. He did manage to kill Jedi Master Coleman Trebar though, gun him down. But also, can we be honest? Can we be honest with each other? Because what in the world was going on when Jango tried to assassinate Padme? Like, you want to kill Padme. Okay, let's go from there. So you hire the guy who's supposed to be the best bounty hunter in the galaxy. Good move. Nice hire. Only the thing is, he instantly outsources the job to another bounty hunter. I guess killing a senator is below him or something. And then she doesn't do it either, but she outsources it to two little worms. And then when they can't kill Padme, because they're worms, Anakin and Obi-Wan chase down that bounty hunter, go after her. And you might be thinking here, oh, so this was the plan all along. Go hire another bounty hunter, then when she fails, the Jedi chase after her, then he can go in there and kill Padme without having to worry about the Jedi. But no, no, not at all. That's not what happens. Probably would have been smart, but nope. Instead, Jango follows the Jedi and assassinates the other bounty hunter, not Padme. Like, seriously, that was his plan, and he is the best bounty hunter in the galaxy? Something is not adding up here at all. Boba Fett did it better. He was trained by his dad, and I think in a lot of ways surpassed him. He's also considered to be the best bounty hunter in the galaxy, and is really just a lethal fighter. Seriously, Boba has absolutely no problem with gunning down, killing every single person he runs across. He's seriously accurate, just a crazy sharpshooter, to the point where he can casually snipe someone from across the desert. Boba is skilled enough, he's a good enough fighter to even take down other bounty hunters. He's beaten Bosk when Bosk got the jump on him, easily takes down Cuska Reeves, then even kills Cad Bane. And just so you know, Cad Bane is more than able to fight off and fight against Jedi like Obi-Wan Kenobi, Quinlan Vos, and Ahsoka Tano. And Boba Fett beat him. Only thing is, Boba Fett has gotten a little old. He's been through a lot, and it's just gotten a little slower, a little rougher in his old age. Cad Bane definitely got the drop on him and could have easily killed him, but took his time to gloat and teach Boba one last lesson. That allowed Boba to turn the tables. But that's not all. Boba Fett also got beat up by some ninja assassins. Black Chrysanthemum got the drop on him, and Boba couldn't do anything about it. And all this begins to just add up a little bit. There was a time where Boba Fett was without a doubt the most skilled bounty hunter, one of the best fighters out there. But that's funny, because that's what actually is going against him here in the long run. Boba Fett is such a good fighter that he wasn't killed in any of the fights that he was in. He won every single fight that he was in. And that's what allowed him to grow old. And that's what allowed him to get a little slower, to get a little older. It's funny how that works out. But yeah, it's safe to say that Boba Fett isn't in his prime anymore. Then last but not least, Mando. And you can say the same thing about him that you said about Jango and Boba. He's a great bounty hunter, a skilled fighter, he's got impressive accuracy, a lot of the same stuff. And he's used all this to hold his own against Ahsoka Tano, hold her off even when she got the jump on him and ambushed him. He's able to beat Moff Gideon, which is like a whole thing in and of itself, as he's just swinging the Darksaber all around. And that's not even to mention all the groups of thugs and aliens and stormtroopers and everything that he has single-handedly beaten. But all that being said, everything laid out here, let's start crunching some numbers and see who'd win. Or at least see who I think would win. So the problem here is that these guys are really, really, really similar. I mean, all bounty hunters, so a lot of the same experience, basically the same armor, really similar weapons. They got a lot of similarities going on, which means that instead of having one clear advantage over the others in order to win, what you're really going to have to do is just start stacking a bunch of small little advantages and let that lead you to victory. And I think the guy who can do that the best, and the guy who has the most small little advantages, is Mando. Jango doesn't have the on-screen feats that the others do. That's kinda hard on him, but it is what it is. Boba was definitely the best at one point, probably during the Empire Age. He'd win if the fight took place then. But as time goes on, the old guard steps away, and the new guard comes in. And I think that's Mando. He's a skilled fighter, a great bounty hunter, has got the best gear, even the Darksaber, and I cannot verifiably prove it, but I still think his Beskar armor is the best here. Plus, you know he's not going to let anybody take off his helmet like that. Only Grogu gets to do that. So yeah, all things considered, I think the Mandalorian is winning this one.